Hello, viewers at home. You're welcome to your segment, The Truth on Point. And today we are going into a different aspect of the program where we will be reviewing a book that we have with us today. And this is coming to you from the house of RCCG Dallas-Fort Worth Central. I have some panels. We're going to be discussing issues about reading and the culture of reading among the new generation. Sit down, enjoy this segment. We'll be right back.
Coming up on today's episode.
People tend to be on their phones, on their laptops for hours.
It is supposed to be something that we help reading culture. So that we hearing it that it's working against it now.
They want to read the book, but they're not really used to reading hard copies.
Most of those things are not as easily accessible as they used to be.
This book authored by Pastor Tunde Adebi of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Dallas-Fort Worth Central.
That means that's the group of people you want to capture, and you have to somewhat pass this message on to them in that format.
Viewers at home, you're welcome back to this discussion today. Like I said, I'm not here alone. I have some special people with me. I have a panelist here. Now to the far right, left side is Mrs. Damilola Akomolafe. Also, I have another gentleman here, and that is Mr. Peter Esedebe. You're welcome, sir. I have Mrs. Comfort Jacob. My final panelist today, Mrs. Biodun Oyekule. So today we are going to be discussing some special issues that has to do with reading. How can you describe the situation where we are now in this dispensation? Are we going to say people are reading, or people are no longer reading, or people are reading in a different way? So let me start from my far left. Mrs. Damilola, what can you say about the reading culture of the people?
I would say the advent of social media has made reading poor, reading habit very poor among everybody. There is no class associated now, both young and old. You know, people tend to be on their phones, on their laptops for hours, just checking the social media, checking Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media they handle that they have. But to really read the hard copy now is fizzling out. 1, 2. Even we have soft ebooks online, but you will not see people going to ebooks to read. Why? Because they are not entertaining, so to speak, and so they believe there's nothing to make them feel good about going to ebooks, but rather they'll be on the social media.
Okay, let me quickly cut it in here. If we are to look at it, some people may want to argue that with the electronics and the multimedia, it is supposed to be something that will help reading culture. So that we hearing it that it's working against it now, might be some issues that some people will want to take again. Do you support that, Mr. Peter?
Well, I have a different view. I know for sure that if you want to hide something from a man, put it in the book. But if you want to expose that, make it pictorial, act a movie out of it, or discuss it. People also understand and assimilate in different ways. The old prefer to read, while the young actually prefer to visualize. So that's my take on this.
That is a wonderful one. The old prefer to read, the young prefer to visualize. Let me take it to you, Mrs. Comfort.
Yeah.
What can you say about that definition?
I feel like people find different avenues to read. So some people, like you said, maybe older people who are used to reading will go to a library or go to a bookstore. They like reading hard copies because that's what they're used to. I feel like millennials are more used to audio books. So they want to read the book, but they're not really used to reading hard copies because now everything's on the phone. And then there's people who like ebooks, but then ebooks aren't always the best for you because sometimes it's not best for your eyes. And I know some people who like reading because they like to visualize what's happening in the book in their own voice. So I think it depends. People still want to read, but they just find different ways.
Now, I think you are bringing in another aspect, which has to do with the head aspect of reading, like visualizing things can affect your eye. Do you buy the idea that head is equally involved in reading now?
Yes, it is. Because if you look at the older generation, they love to read. You want something that you can handle, like a paperback, hardcover and all that. But most of those things are not as easily accessible as they used to be. So even the older generation that wants to read now, it's more difficult for you to get what to read. The older generation are now being forced to go to the soft copy.
Yeah.
And some people that just don't buy the idea of soft copy, they rather just leave the reading altogether. So you see that some people are actually going away from reading, not because they don't like reading, but because they don't have it in the form that they would
is
prefer.
accessible.
But now, then, in come the younger generation, everything is at the tip of their finger. They want something that they can stroll. But even going with that too, reading is not still what it used to be, because now you have so many distractions on the phone.
Yeah.
You want to read on your phone, you want to read on your iPad, but you have so many other things on your iPad. A lot of alerts is coming in, notifications here and there. You don't have that time to concentrate, and it's also affecting the reading culture.
Thank you very much for that wonderful contribution. So let us bring it back to this book authored by Pastor Tunde Adebiyi of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Dallas Fort Worth Central. And the book is titled, God is Too Faithful to Fail. Now, talking about God is too faithful to fail, let me bring the question back to Mrs. Damilola Akomolafe. Do you think that people will actually read this book, going by your initial submission?
Well, they say never. If we bring out points that will captivate people, like if somebody that's read it comes out and talks about it, others will be motivated to read the book. Because sometimes even a movie, you want somebody to recommend a movie to you and be like, oh, have you watched that movie? It's really good. So if somebody that has read the book is willing to tell others about it, that, oh, if you read the book, this is what I got from it, then I believe people will read it.
Wow. This generation must be a special generation. The generation that will love people narrating what they are about to read. That's like we're watching movies. Mr. Peter, do you believe in that submission that people need, like we say, somebody to, be a catalyst to them reading the book, somebody to propel them to read the book? How do you see that?
Invariably, this message will be passed to people depending on the category you want to reach. If you want to reach the kids, there's going to be a format to follow, and if you want to reach the elderly, you have a different format as well to follow. So we have a target audience, and we have to tailor it towards that direction to make or drive whatever message we have here.
Thank you very much for that submission. Yes, this is a very powerful book. Going through this book, I saw some things there, and like in chapter 1, where we have who is God. I believe if people go through this book, they are going to, get some benefit about the very God that is too faithful to fail. So, going by the reading pattern of the people, do you think that, from your own submission, do you think that this book is something that they will find easy to read?
I believe so. Based on the volume of the book, it's not too long, and it seems very straight to the point from what I've seen. The print is not too tiny, for people who are elderly, who have problems with their eyes or anything like that.
Okay. Let me take the question to my far right here. as a reader, as you know, you've read a lot of books. We have seen some books that you review. You know, yeah, you're a professional. So, what can you say? What is your take on the readability of this book? There's a word like that.
Oh, yeah, I believe so. First of all, looking at the title of the book, it will attract somebody that has a relationship with God.
Wow.
Because when you say God is too faithful, somebody that doesn't have a relationship with God might not pick it up. But if you have a relationship with God already, when you hear that title, you know it's true. One. And two, if as a child of God you are going through anything, when you see God is too faithful to you, and you look at it, oh, that's true. Then you want to pick it up and just, you know, motivate yourself, encourage yourself.
Yeah.
And like what Nizam Dotla also said, when you hear people talk about it, that's good, it's nice from the topic. And I also like the printing too.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
large
Yeah, the
print,
printing is-
and the book is not too big.
absolutely.
And also the finishing. You know, this book is not fragile. That I can't put it in my bag when I'm going down. I can put it in my bag, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Read
true.
it,
You can take it with you.
you know, as I have the time, you know, just because it's been in my bag, you know, when you have time, just continue, fold it, continue. So it's that kind of a book where, you know, you can take with you anywhere you want to go.
Yes. Thank you very
Yes.
much for that. On a final note, let us quickly look at the chapter 1 of this book. The chapter 1 says, "Who is God?" So, a very short note. This is going to be your final note. Who is God to you from the point of view of this book?
Okay, so when I was going through the book, one point that struck me was when the paragraph says that God is who He revealed to you at a particular time in a particular circumstance that you are in. So that means God in the circumstance that He appeared to me will be different from God in another circumstance that somebody else is going through. So that is one thing I brought out of the book. Okay, fine. That God can actually be 1,000 things to 1,000 people.
Yes.
So that's my.
Oh, okay. So yes, we can see here. We see God as a consuming fire. We see God as a provider. So, which is the confirmation of what you are saying? So, which one appeals to you the most? Is it a consuming fire, a provider, or a deliverer, or a healer? Which one will you say is your best?
Before I get to answer your question, okay, what struck me the most was that for every point that was raised in the book, it was backed up with a verse in the Bible.
Whoa,
Yeah.
wow,
So
that is
that's some confirmation. So God is everything, you know. He's the life, he's everything. He's the creator, author, and finisher. So everything here I've read so far actually struck me, and it's going to change a lot of lives.
wow. Thank you very much for that. Things here is going to change a lot of life. That is coming from Mr. Peter.
Yeah.
And so, what do you say?
One thing that struck me in the book was that God is, you can see God by the fruits of His righteousness, like
Wow.
what He's done in people's lives, from young, old, all over the world, different
Yeah.
walks of life. That's really the evidence that, you know, of who God is.
Oh, who God
You know,
is. Mrs. Biodun, what can you say? Who is God to you?
But God is everything. I agree with what everybody is saying. When I say God is everything, you know, it's so general.
Yeah.
But, and remember the Bible says we know in parts. So I believe God is everything. But to every revelation it gives us part time. If I say God is omnipotent, if I say God is too faithful to fail, I know He is all that. But He is also what you have said, is also
Yeah.
what everybody else. So in different stages of our lives, in different circumstances, He shows up, you know, to be the God in that situation.
That's
too.
right.
So He is everything.
Thank you very much. And I really enjoy your company today. And thank you for coming to this program today. The next episode, we will be talking about the God of Covenant. And that will be next week. So, be at home. Join us same time next week for another wonderful episode of this program. Meanwhile, from the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Dallas Fort Worth Central, the Book Club, we are saying bye-bye for now.